Hello everyone and welcome to episode 64 of the Layton Fitness podcast. Now in today's episode we're going to be discussing the top 4 principles I wish I had known when I first started training. Unfortunately I didn't know these when I first started training. These are taking me many years to fully grasp for myself, and then in addition to that start applying those principles to my clients as well. However, I thought this would be very useful because for those individuals who are struggling to achieve their goals, if you apply these 4 principles, I guarantee you'll start seeing more progress. And they're all relatively simple principles, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're easy. They take discipline, they take hard work, just like anything, and they take consistently over a long period of time to see excellent results. Now, if I would have known these 4 principles when I first started training, those first 2 years in particular would have been much more successful. In my opinion, when I first started training, the first couple of years, I was doing so many stupid things that I didn't really progress how I should have done during that period. Here are the 4. The first principle is to actually start tracking your calories and macronutrients. I know if you've listened to any of my or watched or read any of my content previously, you know that I always go on about this topic all the time. The reason being, this is one of the most fundamental principles, the key principle to changing body composition, either building muscle or losing body fat. And the reason why is most people get stuck in terms of looking at foods in isolation without actually taking into consideration the absolute quantities, the macronutrients within that particular meal, and how that actually fits into their day's intake. If you ask, I'd say 90% of the people who go to the gym, what were your calories and macronutrients you consumed yesterday? 90% of the people are not going to give you an answer. Yet if you do this consistently and you manipulate these calories and macronutrients subject to your progress, your results will go up exponentially. This is the key foundation of what I put in place when I work with any of my personal training online coaching clients. This is absolutely paramount to achieving your body composition goals. And if you're still unsure how to do this, if you go to my website, I've got a free ebook at the top of the page and you can download that, and it basically teaches you how to set your starting calories and macronutrients. Now keep in mind those figures are subject to change depending on your progress. However, it's certainly a great starting point. In addition to that, I'd start using MyFitnessPal. This is a great application you can get on your phone. The only caveat I'd say is make sure you plug my macronutrients and calories you've worked out from the ebook and you don't use MyFitnessPal's generic figures. The reason why is protein set way too low for trained individuals. In addition to that, it allows you to be flexible by tracking calories and macronutrients. It actually allows you to still have a bit of a social life. It still allows you to go out with friends and family and to interchange foods depending on your environment to meet your daily calories and macronutrients. This is one of the reasons why I'm so against the traditional black and white meal plan, just because it doesn't allow for any flexibility. You're away from those specific foods. You don't actually understand how to interchange protein, carbs, fats to meet your daily macronutrient targets. So having more of a flexible approach, tracking macronutrients, calories, allows you to go away and work on holiday, etc., and still be able to have the knowledge to interchange foods to meet your daily targets. Really feel passionate about that specific topic. The second principle is focusing on one goal at a time. So many people focus on trying to build muscle and lose fat simultaneously. And once you're past the beginner phase, you really want to be focusing on one goal at a time. When you first start training, as those of you who have been through that first 6 months of weight training, you'll realize that you built muscle and lost fat simultaneously. This is one of the few times where this happens to any significant degree. The other example is when you return from a layoff, i.e. if you don't train for, say, 6 months, so if you had an injury or something and you return back, you'll see some muscle gain and fat loss simultaneously. However, once you're past that beginner phase, you really want to be focusing your efforts on one goal at a time rather than trying to do both. And that basically means focusing on a block of time on building muscle and then focusing on a block of time on fat loss and vice versa. You're really cycling between those two goals for extended weeks and months, and then you're transitioning into the other goal. And this is the only way to consistently make progress over the longer term. Now, the more advanced you get, the slower muscle gains become, and therefore I'd suggest spending larger time frames within a muscle gaining phase. And when you are, as a quick caveat, when you are in a muscle gaining phase, you need to realize there will be some fat gain within this period, and the goal within that muscle gaining phase is to try and minimize this negative impact as much as possible, but realize that some fat gain is perfectly normal within the muscle gaining period. The reason why I say this is it's too easy to start a muscle gaining phase and within 3 weeks you put on a small amount of body fat, and then you think, right, I need to get lean again. You transition back to the fat loss phase for a few weeks and you're just flipping between the two. That is a very counterproductive way to train. You really want to stick at each goal independently for many months before you transition into the other goal. Now, this is another big reason why my first few years of training were not as productive as should have been, because I was trying to focus on achieving both of these simultaneously rather than focusing one goal at a time. The next big principle is training each body part multiple times per week, so at least twice per week. And this goes against the traditional dogma within the fitness industry, which says that you should be training each body part once per week, the traditional bodybuilder splits, and this is just not optimal for a natural trainee. You need to realize a lot of the people that push these single body part split routines are taking anabolic steroids. They can ultimately train however they want and they'll still make progress. Now, I'm not saying you can't make progress as a natural, training each body part once per week. You certainly can, as long as there's a progression in volume and strength over time, you will make progress. However, it's more optimal to train each body part more frequently. The reason why is it's easier to accumulate volume over the course of weeks. As I've discussed so many times before, that volume is the significant factor in dictating hypertrophy muscle growth. In addition to that, we can stimulate muscle protein synthesis more frequently by training each body part more frequently throughout the week. And you need to realize that the muscles recover quicker than you think. You've probably been under this false impression that muscles take a full week to recover. They do not. Body parts recover much more frequently, therefore you can train them more frequently. So that change, when I first implemented that was a huge game changer for myself, and that has been for all of my personal training and coaching clients as well. You'd be surprised, especially when you start implementing that initially, the strength gains you see is quite a dramatic transition. So start applying that, focus on something like an upper lower split or a push pull lower multiple times per week, anything where you're hitting body parts at least twice per week. The final principle I wanted to discuss with you is the ability to know how to manipulate your food intake to achieve your desired results. As I alluded to at the start of the podcast when I was discussing tracking calories and macronutrients, that's only the first piece. You need to then understand how to manipulate these figures and or training to achieve your fat loss or muscle gaining goals. And this is the real key to success. You need to realize that those calorie and macronutrient targets are ever changing, subject to your progress. So for example, if your goal is fat loss and you reach a plateau, you need to drop calories and or increase cardio. Likewise, for building muscle, if you reach a plateau, calories need to slowly increase over time. So how you can start implementing this is by firstly tracking your food intake via MyFitnessPal, measuring your progress, i.e. body weight, photos, measurements, body fat percentage weekly. Have a goal, what you're trying to achieve. So for example, it's fat loss. And then if you reach a plateau, you need to be making a change. You need to be decreasing calories and or increasing expenditure. Then you're going to implement that change for a period of time, measure progress again. If you're seeing progress, continue doing the same. If you reach another plateau, which you will do in the future, make another change. So just realize that plateaus are normal. Plateaus are part of the process, and that's your cue to make a change. So start applying those 4 principles. Hopefully that's been useful. Hopefully you can start applying those immediately and really start seeing some really great results. If you're still yet to download that free ebook on my website, go to James Layton, Layton Fitness.co.uk. Download that immediately. You can also learn more about myself, some of the other content on my site, lots of videos, blogs, etc. to learn more information to help you achieve your goals faster. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I look forward to speaking to you next week. Take care.